minutes. Anybody like to make that motion?
Motion to approve, Don.
Okay, that is Bob, Phil?
Yep. Yep.
Any seconds?
Bruce Hushkow seconds.
Thanks, Bruce. Anybody against? Okay, minutes are approved. Old business. One thing to bring up and one thing we do need to discuss that will need to come up to the Remac. Just as information, last time we talked about, we met with the health commissioner. There's a group of us from CMAC working on their job description. We're going to meet this Friday virtually, and then hopefully have a job description off to CMAC for approval in July. CMAC meeting, by the way, is July 19th and 20th. The state has not said yet where that's going to be. I suspect it's probably going to be a mixed meeting, virtual and in attendance, simply because of such a rise in COVID at the moment. The issue that we need to discuss, which has become a real problem and is going to be even more so during the summer, ambulances waiting with patients in ED parking lots and not being allowed in for hours at a time. That cannot continue. It's not good patient care. The ambulances can't keep the ambulance cool in the summer when the air conditioning is not that effective. Not reasonable to have them idling out there. So we really need to rescind that Remac advisory. Patients need to come into the ED.
Upside down, so gravity helps you.
Bring it up for discussion. Does anybody have anything they want to say about that?
Hour is 940.
Yeah, Doc, and I know I've spoken to you about this before numerous times. We're doing a lot of stats on this. And Gibbleton EMS is not a real big agency. Had a ride along with the town supervisor on Friday, discussed some of the issues that are affecting our community, the town of Gibbleton. It's common. It's not even it's not even like just a once in a while. It's almost commonplace now for our crews to be waiting on the ramp of the local hospitals, treating the patients with difficulty breathing, seizures, multiple hours. I think the most egregious one was 4 hours with a difficulty breathing. And at the same time, the patient jumped off the roof of one of the hospitals because of the overcrowding. I think when we first started the COVID and to keep the patients out on the ramp, that was an issue that we were all concerned about. And I raised that right off the bat. And having the EMS crews just treating patients on the ramps is not great. We work on 5-6 minute response times to only bring the patient to the hospital and treat on the ramp. This happens a lot. It's not something that's good for the patient. It's not something that's good for our crews or our ambulances. We need to stop. There's two ways that, and I recognize the ED overcrowding is a bigger issue than all of us here. There's two ways the EMS can help with ED overcrowding. It's help, it's not a solution. But there's something that the hospitals do out west that's not taking place here. Going on diversion, there's an official process of a certain way to go on diversion, and that's through the Department of Health. When you go through the Department of Health, that gives us a piece of docket paper. Why that's important to us is because now we can make policies and procedures to go to distant hospitals. We can justify the mileage with that too. We can attach a copy of the diversion to the chart. So Medicare and Medicaid doesn't audit us. We have a reason for that. Number two, particularly with site diversions, if there's a hospital that's on site diversion and we have to take a patient out of the county, we need documentation of that. We've been called on it a few times by taking a patient out of the county because word of mouth is there's a hospital on site diversion. So what I would ask is that the hospitals go on official diversion through the Department of Health, so we can stop taking patients there and start going to other hospitals there. That's a huge thing for us. Number two, we can take patients out of the hospital. You know, we're a 911 service, but we've been put on the list to take patients out of the hospitals to transfer interfacility transfers if they need us. I think that we should all work together on this, hospitals, EMS. There's a lot of talk out there about EMS crews taking drastic action. I don't want to see that happen. I think we can work together, but you know, the letter that was written to the hospital administrators a while ago, let's just say that let's try to work together, okay? That's my hope here.
Thank you, Jay. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to say? So we'll bring this up at the meeting, Rob, when we actually have to vote, because I think that at least that Remo advisory needs to go away. We can't have them sitting out on the ramp. All right, any other old business? New business? Any new business anybody wants to bring up? Okay, regional training courses. Tim, anything for Remo?
Well, yeah, we have EMT and original starting June 6th. Robust class, it's full. We actually had to cap it. Hudson Valley Community College has a day class starting May 23rd. A day and night combo starts August 29th. I don't know if Bob has anything else, but he can chime in when I'm done. Colony EMS has one starting somewhere in August to be announced. And I believe Gillen EMS has a fall EMT to be announced. And that's what I have for training.
Thanks, Tim. Bob, do you have anything from Hudson Valley you want to add to that?
Nothing further, Don.
Thanks, Bob. Jonathan, do you have anything from Cobblestill?
Just our EMT original and refresher that starts in the full semester along with paramedic.
Okay, try one more time. You had a lot of feedback there.
Just the EMT original and refresher that starts in the fall semester along with the paramedic original class as well. That starts in the fall semester.
Great. Anybody have any questions? Okay, one item from the floor, and I'm not sure Bruce wants everybody to know this, but I'm going to mention anyway. Dr. Ashkow is officially retiring. Bruce, do you want to have anything to say about that? We're going to miss you. I assume you're staying with us, so.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm retiring officially as of July 1. But I'm doing sort of like Sam Bosco, retiring and unretiring at the same time. I'll still be working. I'm just not going to be working full time at SAM. I'll still be working for Envision doing ET3, which I expect most of you are familiar. That's trying to keep patients at home that don't really need to come to the hospital, and working closely with paramedics in that regard. And I also be doing some standard telehealth with UCM. So looking forward to that. And I will still be maintaining my Remo meetings, my Remo number, and my medical control agencies.
Excellent. Well, we'll be missing you actually at Samaritan, but enjoy the retirement and enjoy the lake house.
Oh, thank you very much.
Anybody have anything else they'd like to say before we adjourn, move to the next meeting? Okay, can I have a motion to close this one and move to the next one? Rob, sorry, hand up. So can I have a second? Thanks, Chris. See your hand up.
To bring something up while I had everybody together, which can be for the next meeting anyway, and it's about protocol. So if people are staying on anyway, then I can wait till.
Yeah, Heidi, I think everybody is staying on for the next meeting as well.
Cool.
So bring it there. Okay, all right. Thanks, guys. All right, we'll close this meeting. The next meeting now, remember, is not until September. We have the summer off. Rob, it's all yours. Take it away. You're muted, Rob.
You would think by now that I have that under control. So can we get a motion to approve the minutes from April?
Approve.
Okay. So a little bit of correspondence and then fill up an agenda. So Andrew, so correspondence, Andrew Waste, Patterson, New York. Certification summary was spent until final order is issued. Violation part 800. Navarro Crossman, Bronx. Certification suspended for 1 year, effective 4/27/22, on probation for 3 years for violations of part 800. Salvatore Viola, Whitestone, New York. Certification suspended for 1 year, effective 5/16/22. Suspension stayed. Probation for 3 years for violation of multiple violations of different parts of 800. Mark Blackburn from Jerry, New York. Surrender certification for violations of part 800, multiple subsections. Harris Chrome, Lake Grove. Certification suspended for 1 year, effective 5/24/22. Stay with them for the violation for 3 years. Violations of part 800. We just did academic, so there's no point in doing that. Remsco, discussion about collaboration with ARAMS. Mountain Lakes still seems to be on their own. ARAM seems to be going well on track. Discussion of funding for the EMT course. What's the most appropriate way to do that? So there'll be a discussion on that because there's been some monetary issues with losing money with that. And an ode to PJ Keeler for having a building named after him for all his work over the years. CMAC, next meeting is July, as long as the SEBs go. QI, Mike, do you have anything to report, or did the QI committee meet?
No, Rob.
Okay. Agency updates, fairly easy one. EPCR is Edinburgh. Emergency Squad going to Image Trend, and Taconic Valley going to EMS Charts. Had only a few. City of Rensselaer update, Village Kinderhook, original, New York State Association of Realtors, Greenbush Soccer Club, Gilliland City School District, and Upstate OB/GYN. So now on to new business. Mike, do you want to lead off with TXI? Mike,
Sorry, Rob. I didn't catch what you were looking for.
you're on the next docket for talking about TXI.
I apologize. You're going to have to run with it right now. I've got a lousy signal.
Okay. So discussion basically is, do we want to look for putting TXA on the trucks for general EMS? I think it's been on with helicopter EMS for a while. Do we want to open it up for regular ALS crews?
I would say yes, but
Have we asked the trauma service what they would like?
So I'm going to try to jump in when I can, and I apologize if my signal is bad. The goal is for us to be ready to respond if the trauma service decides that they would like it. I think it would be a reasonable thing for us to add. I'm going to make that information known to Dr. Edwards if this body approves it.
All right, because it would just make no sense if they don't want it. But the literature, of course, supports it, and it's dirt cheap. So I'm all for that. Are you looking at just the first bolus or bolus plus drip?
Likely just the bolus, but we will take our lead from the service, from the trauma service, based on what they would like us to do.
There's also the possibility of doing, I think they're doing a 2-gram bolus and skipping the drip in some systems. So that could be a possibility as well. But I think the bolus, I would stay away from drip if we can help it.
Yeah, the only problem with delaying a drip would be for the people that live far away, and this would be a long transport. But yeah, if you're within 30 minutes, of course, that doesn't make much difference. Okay, thank you for answering those questions. But I think we really need a thumbs up from the people receiving it for the trauma service before we start giving it. But if you're just looking for my opinion, the literature says thumbs up on TXA.
Yeah, Bruce, the rule is that unless the RTAC approves it, it cannot be used.
And Mike, I'm assuming this is going to be statewide for the collaborative, correct?
It is already in the collaborative on a statewide basis for approval on a regional basis by the RTAC, which is why we're discussing it here prior to the meeting of the next RTAC.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Thank you.
So do we need a motion saying that we are in support of it pending RTAC approval?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, a second,
I'll second it, it's Bruce.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Next, we have Joe and Alex Knowlton talk about the Schenectady Fire follow-up on opiate calls, or OD calls, not just opiates.
How's it going, everybody? So we're just gonna go over a quick overview of what we're doing in Schenectady and showing that we can use EMS charts and how we can share that information with drug counselors in the area so they can get rehab counselors to individuals in a very timely fashion to get them, these individuals, the assistance they need and get them into drug counseling much sooner than we were able to do before. And it's basically by us setting up data validation tools in the EMS charts because we're the first ones who actually get that information. And instead of letting
Did anyone else lose him? And I just go on mute.
Yeah, Alex, we lost you there.
Gun.
Come in, Alex, or maybe Joe Meath can chime in.
Yep, I'll pick up from where he was. I'm just going to share my screen if I may. So the original ask from Schenectady was this: the police department in the Schenectady Cares program was manually looking at police reports at the end of every shift on the next business day, looking for any incidents that they were involved with, where it was primarily opiate overdose, and that evolved into them reaching out to the police department, or to the fire department rather, and the fire department then doing a manual review of the records they had to try to come up with information about a patient, looking specifically for patients who are involved in a likely opiate overdose. And there's this Schenectady Cares program. You may have more information than I personally do about the ins and outs of the legalities, but at the end of the day, the city approved a business associate agreement between the police and fire department, the restriction that the police department cannot use it for any law enforcement activities. And these are excerpts out of Alex's presentation that he did at our conference not too long ago, just a little bit of history and overview. But at the end of the day, what we were able to do is to come up with data for the police department, and using information that's already available for the EMS charts subscribers here that are on the call here. We can actually take your instance, have them geocoded, display them on heat maps. So what was happening at the end of every day now, the police department gets an encrypted email file from Zoll, and it includes the patient demographic information and contact information for the patient. So their objective, going back to the Schenectady Cares program, is that they want to make an intervention within 24 hours, but no more than 12 hours, so between 12 and 24 hours intervention. So at any rate, this is easily. I think we got some background from somebody there.
Hey, folks, I'm sorry to interrupt, Joe, but folks, if you're not speaking, please mute yourselves.
Thank you, Art.
Okay, at any rate, this information is easily reproducible at the service level. I've had conversations with Dr. Daly. There are some opportunities to make this available on a county or regional basis. There's probably better tools out there than Google Maps and laying the KML over Google Map, which is the tool that we use. Most counties and cities have ArcGIS or some form thereof, and we can provide the export file to allow the mapping for these for your agency, region, or county needs. But we want to take an opportunity. Alex, by the way, had just messaged me. He had gotten kicked out of the Zoom, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions. For those of you that need to reach out to me, my email is jmeath@zoll.com. I think jmeath@EMS Chart still forwards to me. I think many of you who I've interacted with before have my contact information, but if not, Tim definitely has it. Alex Nolan, Dr. Daly, be happy to help you set this up if you have an initiative in your area that we can support. I'll take any questions. If not, Tim, I'll turn it back to you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, Joe, Paul Segura from County. And I'm just curious what you're using to get the data. What in the drop down there on the left, what are you using?
Okay, so hi, Paul. The information here on the left are fields out of EMS chart. So we can do it by patient category, by provider impression. And the report that we're using specifically, it was an ad hoc report, a custom report to be scheduled for that's going to the police department. What we're doing is collecting their demographic information, and specifically for their program, they're interested in whether or not the patient received Narcan, and if so, how many doses of Narcan that they had received.
What's the police department using? OD map?
They have a the mapping program you're seeing here is
No. What's the police department using? OD maps?
I believe so.
Okay. All
All
right. I asked you guys 2 years ago for an export for this, just FYI. For an XML export. Albany County's been trying to do this for 2 years. And you guys don't have a reliable way to export data.
Yeah, well, as many of you know, I was also on hiatus for 2 years, and I'm back now. I'll be happy to help you set this up for anyone that needs it.
Hey,
So these things getting
hey, Joe.
now.
Joe, this is Dave Newton from Albany Fire. I can echo what Paul said. We've been having issues with the GIS mapping. We're unable to export GIS mapping from charts at this point for some reason. We've had help tickets in, and the answer I've gotten is that it can't be done. So I don't know if this is the same kind of issue, but we've had to go roundabout to try and do this for the same exact thing for the overdose mapping, and then we end up having to go through the water department's GIS program when I try to pull out a map, mapping section that's listed there under charts. You should be able to map and heat map stuff, and it doesn't work. So just if you're nosing around on that it would be helpful to figure out a better way than having to go through 3 different programs to get it. Just my 2 cents on that, because we have been looking at this for a while.
Sure. No
Thanks.
problem. And Dave, I'll reach out to you directly, and we'll take a walk through your configuration and make sure that this is supported properly. But what you're seeing here on that, this is Schenectady's data that they were so gracious to share. But it's there and working, and we can export the KML file.
So is there opportunity to other agencies in Schenectady County to join that the city of Schenectady program and expand it to a county program?
There is right now, this mapping function that you see here is available only at the service level. But what we can do is we can merge these through analytics. We can merge these files and then create one file where it would be available on the county level. if there's enough interest in this topic with other agencies, we can certainly be happy to schedule another meeting or even come on site with the agencies to walk through these outside of the Remac meeting here.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Any other discussion on this? So definitely this has been used when people try to get this going for a while. Thanks for finally getting this set up and running.
Yeah, you got it.
Joe, sorry, it's Mike Daly. Joe, I just want to thank you for presenting. And, you know, it's interesting. Anytime we start looking at how something's going to be successful now, we're going to find a lot of ways that it's been less than successful in the past. So I understand that we're going to continue to develop the information technology that supports your applications. But I would ask to make sure that as this continues to develop, share the information back to us. Let's get as much we can from each lesson that's learned. And I think most importantly for all of us that are really interested in tracking not only opioid overdoses, but places where people have problems with opioid disorder, the more information that we can build into the impressions, and then we can ultimately use from there to be able to direct resources to patients afterwards, will ultimately lead to the most success. So, Paul, thanks for clarifying some of the ways we can get information into this mapping. And Joe, we'll just look forward to this continuing to develop so that we have information that's shared, and then we can get as many resources as we can dedicated to these people to help them out. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Moving on, I think Dean, you're up with what's going on with Albany Memorial.
So we've had some conversations at St. Peter's, and we've heard some rumors that the EMS community is considering Albany Memorial Hospital as a closing hospital, or that the emergency department was no longer servicing patients by ambulance. And we wanted to clear that up. In fact, Albany Memorial is fully functioning emergency department. They can handle anything a community hospital can handle. And we want to make sure that we clear the air and everyone to know that up front. I wanted to know if anybody else had heard that rumor or how we can mitigate that rumor from continuing.
Dean, yes, we did hear that in Huzik. That I think from what I was told, it was an urgent care, no longer an ER.
That couldn't be farther from the truth. It is a fully functioning emergency department. It sees almost as many patients as St. Peter's or Samaritan each day. I look at the numbers every single day, and it is it's a hopping place. So they can handle everything. You know, obviously, there's no inpatient at Albany Memorial Hospital, and so they do transport patients that have to be admitted to one of our other hospitals. However, those numbers are very low. Most things can be treated and released. And you know, as putting my Rotterdam EMS hat on, and I was working in the field, thinking I can have a really good judge of what's going to get admitted and what's not going to get admitted. And I look now at those things, and I'm really was not as accurate as I thought it was. In fact, I would probably say I was maybe only 50% accurate. So even though people think that this might need to be admitted, there's a good chance it won't be. Now, obviously, there's the big five you wouldn't bring to Albany Memorial, right? You wouldn't bring somebody in labor. You wouldn't bring somebody with a STEMI. You wouldn't bring somebody with a stroke, right? You wouldn't bring somebody in serious sepsis. You wouldn't bring a trauma there, a major trauma there. Obviously, there's appropriate facilities for the big five, but everything else can go to Memorial Hospital. And if there's a question, feel free to call the Remo line to the facility, and they'll tell you whether or not they think it should come to Memorial or it should go to one of the other facilities. Any questions about Memorial? Crickets.
Oh. I guess you made your point. Okay, so next I'd like to talk about Heidi. Corey mentioned some difficulties with the protocol system, which I didn't even know there was a link there to submit a protocol, but I guess hasn't had anything come out of that. So has a couple protocol items he'd like to bring forward for us to push off to the collaborative we approve.
Thank you very much, Rob. And I don't know if I can share the screen, but if you're already aware of this, I'm sorry for burdening you with the same information. But the reason why I did this is because when I asked you guys for your blessing to have us use acetaminophen, especially when Mohawk is transporting a patient getting blood transfusion en route between hospitals, and you honored it, I thought, well, let's see what else I can come up with too, and to make it easier for all of our providers. First one was giving the acetaminophen in IV form. And then I was looking around further for Zofran and for others. Let me see if I can even get my screen shared here. Let's see if that works. You guys can now see my screen. Wow, isn't that nifty? That works. And that was based out of here, out of the National Scope of Practice from 2019. I don't know if you could see this in the middle here where I'm highlighting that additions to the advanced level. You can see that, I hope, yes. Include monitoring, interpretation of waveform capnography, blah, blah, additional IV medications such as epi during cardiac arrest, and Zofran. So I said that got me thinking to look in our protocols and see where we have it. And the addition of parenteral analgesia, which acetaminophen comes in the IV form. And let me just push this down. And I think I put it up in here as well. That was the excerpt from the NHTSA protocol. And then I looked at the ipratropium, which was in there too. And we looked at our protocol and A3.10 for the diff breather and asthma COPD wheezing, and it stopped. There was no albuterol there as well. And I looked back again and it was in the 2019 protocol as well. And I think we come down to here where it was the National EMS Scope of Practice model approved in February, where you can see in the left-hand column, the medical director approved medications and their respective levels on the right column. And these are things that I had pushed through the protocol link as well, but I thought while those people who are on this committee are working on this, that I would put the seed in your minds and thinking for your approval as well and further discussion. I also looked up some articles in addition to support this. And I had one more that I also brought up. You could see again in the Zofran was the consideration in both the adult and the pediatric protocol for greater than 2 years old. Here again is a picture of the protocol, and that's where it stopped. And there was an article published in the Pre-Hospital Emergency Care Journal at the NAMS Physicians for use of Zofran, as well as being more successful than IV fluids. And again, also here in the nausea and vomit for peds, again, what it was, and here to have the contraindications, where I found the protocol once again in the scope of practice, highlighting again the Zofran. And I then looked at all the states and see who actually used between that and albuterol as well. So you can take a look at some of their protocols and see how many states have used it. So that's what I had been working on, and I thought maybe I could get some advice and support from you guys, or no, this is a terrible idea. Either that or I put myself on mute and I'm just talking.
Well, I think they all make sense.
So just a thought. I appreciate you looking, and as I said, these are all online. So I figured especially the National Scope of Practice, it's in the practice. It doesn't seem that it's too complicated, and we want to offer our patients obviously the best that we can offer within our scope of practice, and especially the lengthy transport times that we've encountered, not just because the hospitals are on diversion, because we also live in some rather remote rural areas. And having something for pain really helps, and the nausea, especially on our bumpy roads in Rensselaer County.
Rob, if I may, it's Michael. First of all, Heidi, thank you very much for bringing those forward. I think it's extremely important for us to continue to use the protocol ideas button that's on the or survey that's on the Remo website. And actually, for anybody that's outside the region, it's on all the regional websites across the collaborative. There will be an upcoming collaborative meeting where we'll discuss the things that have been added in there in the meantime. The one problem that we have with that survey tool, unfortunately, that I don't have a great answer for, is how to let people know that things have been received. That's something that is indeed a weak point within it. But something I really appreciate is, as folks from this region have added new ideas in, they've been really good at making sure to include any evidence necessary to support that for our discussions. So thank you very much. These are very reasonable discussions and very reasonable ideas to add, and I'll look forward to bring them forward.
Yeah, so I know that you're driving, Michael, so I put up the Remo website so that way people could see where it's located under the protocol suggestions, and here under the red cap for Rochester, you click on that link, which I did. And apparently for each idea, you have to keep filling out almost the same information. You can save and return, you can submit, and it will ask you if you have another protocol that you wish to comment on. So knowing me, I had a lot of comments because I wanted to make sure that our crews had the best possible that I could give them.
Okay, any other discussion on this? So I think now we know that's in pool waiting for the collaborative meeting that answers the question of where it lands.
So again, it would be for IV acetaminophen, Zofran, and albuterol atrovent, I'm sorry.
Heidi, just a quick question, cost for IV acetaminophen, you have an idea?
John, are you on the line, Hudson?
Yeah.
Can you tell them, because I know that we looked into it for Hoosick, of course.
So the glass bottle, I haven't looked in a while, but the glass bottle was about $130 a bottle. Due to some shortages, sometimes you can get the bags a little cheaper through hospitals. But when you looked at morphine, I think it was like $150 a vial. So I haven't looked in the last couple of weeks, but I can get that information, everybody. But it was comparable. It is expensive, but when you go with a bulk ordering system, which if it's approved, we've had discussion with neighboring agencies. We'd probably do a bulk ordering, so it's a little cheaper, and we can all get on board with it.
How much do you pay? $150 for morphine is in the comment section as well. And how much do other people pay for morphine? Do you guys know what your prices are?
What have we been paying for morphine?
I know Rotterdam pays like not even a tenth of that for morphine.
Okay, yeah, and we're working with, because we're all the way out in God's country, we're working with SVMC, so that price could change. So we're trying to work on pricing with them as well.
And that glass bottle is small enough that we can carry it.
Yeah, it actually goes into, I've actually got a whole system set up for it. We actually bought Pelican cases, and they fit right in the Pelican case with the vented drip set, and it's good to go.
Okay. Any other discussion on these new suggestions? Okay. So moving on to continue with the medication discussion, drug shortages. These will probably still continue for a very long time. So Tim put this together for us, so thanks. So epinephrine.
Actually, thanks go to Dr. Dale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we put this together briefly, just to support the conversation. This shouldn't be disseminated, this slide set, because really it doesn't give information standing alone. Since, as it was pointed out to me by one or two people, I did not do a particularly good job of making sure that there was a single way of representing all this stuff. So if we go back to epinephrine for a minute, please. So on the epinephrine slide, what's important here is that 1 to 10,000 epinephrine is in ridiculously short supply. So what we have talked about in the past is that there be packaging of replacement 1 to 10,000 or 1 milligram and 10 ml unit doses available. One of the best practices that we've seen is a vial of epinephrine, 1 ml vial, held with a syringe, and then they can either draw that off a saline bag or a flush. One of the things that this group has been extremely adamant in the past about, and I would encourage us to continue to do that, would be to discourage the use of the 30 milliliter vial of epinephrine, which leads to the potential for tenfold drug administration errors of epinephrine. I think that's one of those things that we should work every possible option that we can first before we move to that option. If I may offer that as our ongoing solution. If we can move to dextrose, unless there's any comment. So I included a reference on this slide, but there are multiple now. For those of you that were around 10 years ago during our first set of dextrose administration shortages, we moved from D50 to D10 with great results. Our patients overall are getting less sugar. They are feeling better. We're not seeing the complications that people can get from large boluses of extremely viscous liquid. And unfortunately, 250 bags of D10 are in incredibly short supply right now. There are 500 bags of D10 that are still available through some suppliers. Some of the hospitals have more of those than others. The one thing that we do have to be very careful of is runaway infusions and giving people double a dose that we intend. In some cases, we may have to go back to D50, but unfortunately, that is also an incredibly short supply. I don't think that we're far from having to actually hand people a glass of water and a bunch of sugar packets and having them make their own. But this is where we are right now. The other option that we need to put into the protocols for oral administration is, of course, New York maple syrup, but that's not going to handle our intravenous dextrose problem. But this will be an ongoing issue. Diltiazem, please. So diltiazem is one of those that's come up recently, in particular with one creative solution. If you look at the slides here, the two to the left are both intravenous formulations that are pre-mixed and unfortunately require refrigeration or discard at 30 days. The version to the right is 100 milligrams of diltiazem in a bag. The advantage that we have with the 100 milligram dose in a bag, however, is that does not have to be discarded because it's a lyophilized version of the drug. If Mike Broder is on the line, I'm sure he will correct my pharmacology there. But basically, it does not have it does not have any temperature stability issues. The only thing we have to make sure is that this is not hung as a drip, but it is given as IV boluses, the same way we would if it came out of a vial. We have not approved the use of large doses like this or large formulations like this in the past. I think this one may make sense from both a fiscal and operational decision point, and I would suggest that we accept this as an alternative formulation of diltiazem for us to use as necessary. My suggestion across the board is that we remain true to our current standard, which is that if anybody is going to make any drug substitutions outside of what is acceptable on the formulary now, they must notify Remo, and then Tim can make report at the Remac and talk to Dr. McHugh and myself as necessary in between as these start to arise. The more we know about drug shortages that are impacting our agencies, the better we'll be able to support you. Any questions?
Like, Beth just sent me a training program ARAMS has for epinephrine dilution. You may want to look at it. She could send it to you, I guess.
Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing that. One other thing, by the way, is that we're in the process of setting up a meeting between the heads of pharmacy for the major hospitals in the area to have some discussions in terms of how hospitals may or may not be able to support EMS as we go through this because of their greater buying power. I'm not sure whether or not we'll have any solutions. We've explored some of these things in the past, and we'll keep everybody posted as that develops.
Okay. Any further discussion on the medications and drug shortages? Okay. Open floor. Any new discussion topics?
Rob, we need to talk about the ambulances idling out, and
Yes.
you want to bring it up? You want to bring it up?
Yeah. So I know at Ellis, we typically have not been doing that in maybe a few cases over the years now. But for the most part, Ellis, they've been coming in. I think other hospitals may be towing that line a lot more strictly. So I think someone else has to make the motion that we rescind the communication for ambulances to wait outside.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Second. And is anyone aware of any particular hospital that needs a direct communication with their infection control division? Okay. So then, Tim, why don't we send out something to rescind that directive, and we'll see how it goes with the rest of the hospitals.
Will do.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Any other discussion? Go.
So I have a question, because I heard it come up in the other meeting, like diversions and things like that. And I signed up for the listserv, and all these other hospitals in the western part of the state are, when they're on diversion, we all get an email that says, hey, we're on diversion. Ellis does it when they're on psych diversion or general diversion, but the immediate Albany ones do not do it. And then we get an ambulance that is doing like an interfacility, which should be a pretty quick drop because it's already been requested, approved. So the patient should, if it's interfacility, get right in fairly quickly. But we've had a case where we're sitting outside for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we actually had one that was in severe pain where I had to call in and get a hold of the MD on and be like, hey, what can we do for pain management? Because they sent this as a basic, gave him pain management, which would be enough time from transport to facility to facility, but now he's in pain, what can we do? And they had to scramble to try to figure it out. So is there something or a plan that we can hash out that to get these patients that are especially already been approved to be admitted into a space or somewhere so they can get treated? Because sitting outside is just, I don't think it's good patient care to be sitting outside waiting for that long.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Dr. Daly. I'm sorry. I didn't hear who that was, and I suspect there's some specifics there that you should bring to me offline. But at the same time, all of the hospitals agree it's definitely suboptimal to have any ambulances waiting outside. And our goal would be to make sure that we're getting patients offloaded and turned over as quickly as possible. Particularly when those patients start as pre-arrival transfers, that should be information that we come up with another plan in terms of making sure, rather than a notification when someone's 5 minutes out, we need to turn that around and notify 35 minutes prior to the transport initiating that we have that patient incoming. We're working on a couple of different systems. One project that is raising its head again is a pre-hospital notification one. Art and Dean are going to work together on that, and you'll be hearing more about that over some time, rather than taking a whole lot of this meeting to reiterate that. But I think the thing that we want to make sure, I think from all of the hospitals, that folks know is we don't want ambulances idling outside. We don't want patients sitting on our ramps. We'd rather have them inside. But in many cases, we're in a position where we don't have the room, and there are a lot of different reasons behind those. We've talked about it before. These are a series of interlocking gears, and when any one of those gears is broken, we can't move the other ones. Healthcare's in a crisis, so we're all working hard on it.
Any other discussion? Okay, so on a final note for today, we'll have our next meeting in September. I will be moving to an at-large position, as in July, I'll be ending my full-time relationship with Ellis. So I'll maintain my position on the Remac. Due to attendance, there's room on the at-large list for me to move into that. So I will continue to be seeing you, just will not be directly representing Ellis anymore. Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Don. I will see you all in September. Thank you very much. Have a good summer.